Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. Now, first we begin with the important developments in West Asia, and our top focus comes in from Syria. After the fall of President Bashar Al-Assad's regime, videos of people entering the presidential palace surfaced on social media. The palace was ransacked as the rebels took over Damascus. Rebels fired celebratory shots after storming the palace. Meanwhile, the rebels reportedly freed the prisoners who were seen walking around the streets. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia along with his family yesterday. According to Russian state media, Moscow has granted them asylum on humanitarian grounds. Russia has also called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. The meeting will focus on the situation in Syria. After rebels took over Damascus, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's ouster the fall of a central link in Iran's axis of evil. While US President Joe Biden said Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad should be held accountable for the situation in the country. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the bloc would help in building a safer Syria for minorities. And India called for a peaceful and inclusive Syrian-led political process as a way forward after Assad's ouster. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said its military seized the temporary control in a demilitarized buffer zone in the Golan Heights. He said the 1974 disengagement agreement with Syria had collapsed with the rebels' takeover of Syria. Netanyahu ordered the Israel Defense Forces to capture the buffer zone. He said that the country will not allow any hostile force to sustain on the border. At least 26 were killed in northern Syria's Manbij area amid fight between the two rival rebel factions vying for control of the area. The Turkish-backed Syrian rebels clashed with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. According to the latest reports, pro-Turkey rebels seized the control of the Manbij area. And the US warplanes struck more than 75 Islamic State targets in Syria yesterday. The strikes targeted groups, leaders, operatives, and camps. Multiple US Air Force assets were used in the strike. The US Central Command said the attacks were to ensure the armed rebels do not take advantage of al-Assad's ouster. Russia has said that it is ready to hold discussions with Ukraine on ceasefire. However, the Kremlin accused Ukraine of refusing to hold negotiations. It further added that the talks should be based on the current situation on the battlefield. This comes after US President-elect Donald Trump called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the call for ceasefire came a day after Donald Trump met with Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris. The talks were hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace on Saturday. This was Zelensky's first in-person meeting with Trump since the latter won the presidential election in November. The meeting came after Trump said that his incoming administration would reduce aid to Ukraine. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is in Dhaka today. It is the first high-level official visit from India to Bangladesh since the interim government came to power. The Indian diplomat met his Bangladeshi counterpart, Mohammad Jashimuddin. Misri conveyed to India's concerns regarding the safety of minorities in Bangladesh. He also discussed the attack on the religious properties in the country. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is in Russia for an official visit. He was received by the Russian Deputy Minister Alexander Fomin in Moscow. During his trip, the Indian Defense Minister is set to meet President Vladimir Putin. He will also attend the commissioning of a Russian-made stealth warship, the INS Tushal, into the Indian Navy. Chaos erupted in India's capital, New Delhi, after over 40 schools received bomb threats via email. The threat prompted evacuation of students. Reports claim the alleged bomber demanded $40,000 to defuse the bombs. However, after investigation, police declared that the threats were a hoax. Australia signed an aid package worth $64 million with Nauru to counter China's influence in the Pacific region. The package is aimed at boosting Nauru's security, banking and telecommunication sectors. It will prevent foreign countries from accessing Nauru's critical infrastructure. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese vowed fresh investments to support the island's national security needs. South Korea President Yoon Suk-yeol has been banned from travelling abroad. Yoon is accused of treason and is facing investigation over possible rebel charges. This comes after he decided to briefly impose martial law in the country last week. The South Korean president is set to face another impeachment motion for his move. Taiwan sounded an alarm after China deployed its naval fleets and Coast Guard boats around the island. China also set up several temporary zones of reserved airspace where no other aircraft except that of Beijing is allowed to fly until the 11th of December. And Prime Minister of the Pacific nation Tonga, Saisi Sovaleni, has stepped down. His resignation ends a standoff with the country's king, Tupovubi, and the resignation comes ahead of a no-confidence motion in the parliament today. The veteran politician and longtime rival of Saisi Sovaleni, Isaka Eke, is the front-runner for the top post. And Ghana's former president, John Dramani Mahama, has secured election victory. This comes after the ruling New Patriotic Party candidate, the vice president, Mahamadou Bawumia, conceded defeat. This brings an end to the 8-year regime of President Nana Akufo-Addo, and Ghana's election agency is yet to release the official results. In climate news, in a historic showdown at the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ, developed nations and vulnerable island states continue to clash over the global legal framework for combating climate change. The e-proceedings are halfway through, as major economies, including the US, China and India, are urging judges to uphold the current United Nations framework on climate change, while representatives from small climate-threatened nations like Fiji seek stronger accountability. Dozens of US-bound migrants are enduring freezing temperatures in Mexico City. Migrants say the cold has become unbearable, with children falling ill. Regional weather officials have warned of temperatures dropping to as low as 1 degree Celsius. Migrants say they are trying to stay warm with donated clothes. In India's capital, New Delhi recorded 2024's coldest winter morning. The temperatures dropped to 7.1 degrees Celsius. With the cold weather, the air quality also worsened and entered the poor category. The city's average air quality stands at 222. 2024 paints a grim picture of global wildlife struggles amid habitat destruction, poaching and climate change. In Kenya, conservationists are battling to save the critically endangered mountain bongo, with fewer than 100 left in the wild. The Bornean elephants entered the IUCN Red List as endangered, with their numbers dwindling to an estimated 1,000. On to business and tech news now. The South Korean share market dropped to its lowest level since November. The country's main market index, the Kospi, declined by over 2%. Analysts say that investors were concerned about the ongoing political turmoil. And Japan has recorded over 9,000 bankruptcies as of November this year. The data is reported by Tokyo Shoko Research. The private agency said that the number is likely to surpass 10,000 in 2024, making it the year of highest bankruptcy filings since 2013. US President-elect Donald Trump has said that he would not fire the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. This was in response to a question on replacing Powell during an interview. The Fed chief was appointed by Trump during his first term. However, he sparred with the former president over monetary policy decisions. Australian supermarket chain Woolworths has offered an 11% wage hike to its workers. It will be implemented over the next 3 years as a part of an individual enterprise agreement. The hike follows weeks of strikes by Woolworths' 1,500 workers in New South Wales and Victoria. Australian bank ANZ Group has named Nuno Matos as its next CEO. Matos is a former executive of the banking giant HSBC, and he will replace ANZ Group's current CEO, Shane Elliott, who is set to retire in July of next year. China's fintech firm Ant Group plans to promote its president and financial chief Cyril Han as its next CEO. He will take over from the current CEO, Eric Jing, in March. Jing is being elevated to the role of chairman at the firm. India's largest e-commerce platform, Flipkart, is reportedly planning an initial public offering. The IPO is expected to take place by the end of 2025 or early 2026. Is that Flipkart is planning to shift its base from Singapore to India. The transition team of US President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly invited tech giants for a meeting. Reports say that the invitations were sent to Google, Microsoft, Meta, Snap, and TikTok. The transition team aims to meet tech giants' executives to discuss the issue of online drug sales. Reports say that the meeting might take place in mid-December. And the US government has reportedly allowed Microsoft to export advanced artificial intelligence chips to the UAE. The export is a part of Microsoft's partnership with the West Asian AI startup G24. The deal has faced intense scrutiny due to G24's links with China. The Biden administration has imposed several restrictions on selling advanced AI chips to China. The U.S. House of Representatives is set to vote on an annual defense bill this week. It will also include about $3 billion for U.S. telecom firms. The money is being allocated to help them to remove Chinese equipment from American wireless networks. U.S. lawmakers claim telecom equipment from China's Huawei and ZTE pose national security risks. And moving on to sports, and we start with cricket. India suffered a 10-wicket defeat to Australia in the second test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. On day 3, India were bowled out for 175 runs, setting a target of 19 runs. Now, the hosts chased down the target without losing any wickets. The 5-match series is now level at 1-1. England beat New Zealand by 323 runs in the second test of a 3-match series. England set a mammoth target of 583 runs after declaring their second innings. In reply, New Zealand were all out for 259 runs. Having won the first test, England have taken an unbeatable 2-0 lead. Chelsea beat Tottenham 4-3 in the Premier League. Tottenham started with a 2-0 lead, but in the 17th minute, Jadon Sancho opened Chelsea's account. Cole Palmer's brace in the second half put Chelsea ahead, and Enzo Fernandez hit the final blow as Chelsea moved to second in the points table. And Fulham played a 1-1 draw against Arsenal yesterday. Fulham's Raul Jimenez had struck in the 11th minute. The Arsenal centre-back, William Saliba, brought Arsenal on to level terms in the second half. The two sides settled for a point each. Liverpool have reportedly made an opening contract offer to star forward Mohamed Salah. The 32-year-old's existing contract will expire at the end of this season. According to reports, Liverpool has tabled a deal to retain the Egyptian, but a resolution is expected to take more time. Dan Ashworth is no longer the sporting director of Manchester United. In an official statement, the Premier League club said that Ashworth is leaving by mutual agreement. Having joined in July, the 53-year-old served with United for just 5 months. Indian women's doubles pair Ashwini Ponnappa and Tanisha Crasto won the Guwahati Masters title. The duo beat their Chinese opponents 21-18, 21-12 in the final that lasted 43 minutes. Meanwhile, Satish Kumar Karan had won the men's singles title. The 23-year-old Indian beat China's Zhao Shanchen 21-17, 21-14 in the final. And in the World Chess Championship, the Indian Grandmaster Gukesh defeated the defending champion Ding Lishan in the game 11. Gukesh leads Lishan for the first time in the championship. The Indian is ahead of the Chinese 6-5 with only 3 more games remaining. And McLaren's Lando Norris claimed victory in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix yesterday. The 25-year-old came home 5.83 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz to end Ferrari's title challenge. With this, Norris sealed McLaren's first Constructors' Championship since 1998. Lewis Hamilton left Mercedes for Ferrari after racing at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix yesterday. The 39-year-old leaves Mercedes after 12 seasons, 246 Grand Prix and 84 victories, and 6 Drivers' Championships. In his final race for the Silver Arrows, Hamilton finished 4th. Moving on to some news from the world of showbiz now. Rapper Jay-Z has been named in a sexual assault lawsuit with rapper Sean Combs. The lawsuit, filed in October, originally had rapper Combs' name. The rappers have been accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in the year 2000. However, Jay-Z has denied all claims. Taylor Swift has culminated her record-breaking Eras tour. The final performance took place in Vancouver. Fans from around the globe were seen eagerly lining up to enter the concert venue. The Eras tour began in Arizona in March of last year. The dazzling red carpet was rolled out for the British Independent Film Awards in London. Stars like Saoirse Ronan, Joseph Quinn and Alicia Vikander were among the first ones to reach the venue, while actor Mike Madison had stated that he was happy to be a part of the event. Kneecap dominated the British Independent Film Awards with 7 wins. Rungano Nyoni won Best Director for her sophomore feature on becoming a guinea fowl, while the film's lead star, Susan Chadi, won the award for the breakthrough performance. Sandhya Suri, writer-director of the Hindi-language crime thriller Santosh, won Best Screenplay, and the Best Lead Performance went to Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Mike Lee's Hard Truths. At the Los Angeles Film Critics Association's 50th annual selections of the best films and performances, dramedy Anora was named the best film of 2024. Jean-Baptiste became the first black woman in the LAFCA's history to win the lead performance category for Hard Truths. Mohamed Rasulov won the Best Director Award for The Seed of the Sacred Fig. A Real Pain by Jesse Eisenberg took home the Best Screenplay Award. Celebrities and cultural icons gathered amid other guests for the annual Kennedy Center Honors Celebration in Washington. Queen Latifah and Robert De Niro delivered moving performances. Queen Latifah performed Something to Talk About by Bonnie Raitt, while Robert De Niro recited No One Ever Takes Sides Against the Family Ever at the piano to the theme of The Godfather. And Scottish actor David Tennant will host the 2025 British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards. He had also hosted the 77th BAFTA Awards earlier this year. The organisers said that they couldn't have been happier that Tennant will host the event again, and added that he is an absolute pleasure to work with. Actor Barry Keoghan has deactivated his Instagram account, and this comes amid the online abuse that he had been facing for a few weeks, reportedly due to his breakup with singer Sabrina Carpenter. He took to X, formerly known as Twitter, and stated that he has his limits. He said, and I quote, "Cannot let the absolute lies, hatred, disgusting commentary to distract." And Disney's animated film Moana 2 has collected nearly $52 million in its second weekend. This is from over 4,000 theaters in North America. The film's global tally now stands at nearly $600 million. Its predecessor earned $643 million in 2016. The ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz have been auctioned for a whopping $28 million. They were worn by Judy Garland. The auctioneers had predicted that the slippers could fetch nearly $3 million. The slippers were stolen from a museum in 2005 and were recovered years later in 2018. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.